In the underbelly of Dubai's glittering skyline, where glass towers stabbed the night and the desert wind carried the scent of oud and exhaust, Ahmed pushed his rusted cart along the cracked pavement of Al-Satwa. The year was 2025, and the city had long since priced out anyone who couldn't keep pace with its hunger for wealth. Ahmed's beard was a salt and pepper tangle, his thobe patched in a dozen places, the hem dragging like a defeated flag. He hadn't always been this way. 20 years ago, he'd worn tailored suits in the glass offices of DIRHAMS, trading futures in oil and gold. A single bad call, leveraged too deep on a tanker that never left port, wiped him out. Creditors took the villa, the Mercedes, the wife who'd once called him Habibi. Now he collected bottles, slept under the Al-Khail bridge, and spoke to no one unless spoken to. On the night everything changed, the air was thick with pre-summer heat. Ahmed's cart rattled past a cluster of shisha cafes, spilling laughter and smoke. A man in a crisp kandura stumbled out of a lottery kiosk, waving a ticket like a white flag of surrender. "Ya Allah, another loss," the man groaned, crumpling the paper and tossing it toward a bin. It fluttered, missed, and landed at Ahmed's feet. He bent, joints creaking, and picked it up out of habit. The ticket was for the Emirates Millionaire draw, 100 million dirhams, enough to buy back a life 10 times over. Ahmed almost laughed. He hadn't bought a ticket in 15 years. Still, he tucked it into the breast pocket of his thobe, next to the faded photo of his daughter, Layla, taken the year she turned 7. She'd be 25 now, somewhere in Toronto with her mother. He didn't know her number. The next morning, the city woke to headlines screaming across every screen. Winning tickets still unclaimed. Ahmed saw it on the cracked television in a Pakistani cafe where he traded bottles for tea. The numbers glowed. 7, 14, 22, 29, 36, 44. He pulled the crumpled ticket from his pocket. Same numbers. His hand shook so hard the paper tore at the edge. The cafe owner, a wiry man named Kareem, squinted over his shoulder. "Ya Ahmed, you joking?" Ahmed wasn't. He folded the ticket into a square no bigger than a postage stamp and hid it inside the lining of his cart, beneath a false bottom he'd built years ago to store the few dirhams he earned. He didn't sleep that night. Every shadow under the bridge looked like a thief. Word travels fast in the margins. By noon, a boy selling tissues whispered that the police were combing the streets for the winner. By evening, a local blogger posted a grainy photo of Ahmed's cart, captioned, "Is this the millionaire beggar?" Ahmed abandoned the bridge and pushed his cart toward the industrial sprawl of Jebel Ali, where the cranes never slept and the workers spoke Tagalog and Urdu. He needed time. Time to think, time to decide if the money was a miracle or a curse. 3 days later, he stood outside the lottery headquarters in BURJ, Dubai, barefoot, the soles of his feet blackened by the city. Security guards eyed him like a stray dog. "Sir, the claim window is for winners only," one said, hand on his radio. Ahmed pulled the ticket from his pocket with trembling fingers. The guard's smirk vanished. Within minutes, he was whisked inside, past velvet ropes and marble floors that smelled of lemon polish. A woman in a navy abaya introduced herself as Miss Al-Mansouri, the claims director. She scanned the ticket with her manicured nails clicking against the machine. The screen flashed green. "Congratulations, Mr. Ahmed Abdullah Al-Farsi. You are now the richest man in this room." The press conference was a circus. Cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters shouted questions in Arabic, English, Hindi. Ahmed stood behind a podium that came up to his chest, the microphone squealing. I found it," he said, voice cracking. The room erupted. Found? A homeless man? The story wrote itself. But the twist nobody saw coming wasn't the win. It was what Ahmed did next. The first thing he bought wasn't a villa or a Lamborghini. It was a phone. a cheap Nokia with a prepaid SIM. He sat on a bench in Zabil Park, the ticket's prize money already wired to an account he could barely pronounce. His fingers hovered over the keypad. He dialed a number he'd memorized from a letter Layla's mother sent years ago, before she stopped writing. It rang twice. "Hello?" A woman's voice, cautious. "Layla." Ahmed's throat closed. It's your father." Silence. Then, "Baba?" The word cracked like a whip. She was crying, he was crying. They spoke for an hour, then two. She was married now, a graphic designer, expecting her first child. She thought he was dead. He told her about the ticket, the cart, the bridge. She told him to come to Toronto. He said he would, but first there was something he had to do. Ahmed hired a lawyer, a sharp-eyed Emirati woman named Fatima, who'd once defended slum dwellers against eviction. Together, they set up the Al-Farsi Foundation. The mission, buy back the homes of families facing foreclosure, one deed at a time. Ahmed's first act was to repurchase his old villa in Jumeirah, now a gaudy monstrosity with a swimming pool shaped like a falcon. He didn't move in. Instead, he turned it into a shelter for the homeless, complete with a clinic, a kitchen, and a room where men could shower without shame. He called it BAYT al-AMAL, House of Hope. The second act was quieter. Ahmed tracked down the man who'd thrown away the ticket. His name was Omar, a middle-level accountant who'd bought the ticket on a whim after a fight with his wife. Omar had been drowning in credit card debt, one missed payment from losing his apartment. Ahmed found him in a cramped flat in Sharjah, surrounded by unpaid bills. "You threw away my life," Ahmed said, not unkindly. Omar's face crumpled. Ahmed handed him an envelope. Inside was a check for 5 million dirhams. "Now we're even," Ahmed said. "Go fix what's broken." The third act was the one that broke the internet. Ahmed announced he was giving away 90% of the prize money, 90 million dirhams, to fund microloans for street vendors, single mothers, and anyone the city had forgotten. The remaining 10 million he kept in a trust for Layla's child, to be touched only for education. He refused bodyguards, refused to move into a penthouse. He kept his cart, polished now, parked outside BAYT al-AMAL, like a monument. The backlash was swift. Social media called him a fool. "He'll be broke again in a year," they sneered. Influencers mocked his patched thobe on TikTok. A tabloid ran a headline, "Homeless man squanders fortune." But the people who mattered, the ones who'd slept under bridges, who'd fed their kids with dignity on the verge of collapse, showed up. They brought food, blankets, stories. BAYT al-AMAL's doors never closed. 6 months later, Ahmed stood on the roof of the shelter at dusk, the call to prayer drifting over the city. Layla was coming next week, her husband and unborn child in tow. She'd sent photos, a nursery painted soft blue, a tiny onzi with the Dubai skyline. Ahmed smiled, the lines around his eyes deepening. Below, a boy who'd once sold tissues kicked a football against the wall, laughing with a volunteer doctor. The cart gleamed under the string lights, its false bottom now holding nothing but hope. Ahmed pulled the old photo of Layla from his pocket, the one he'd carried for 18 years. He turned it over. On the back, in fading ink, he'd written a single line the night he'd lost everything. "Forgive me." He tore the photo in half, let the pieces drift into the wind. The city swallowed them whole. In the end, the million-dollar twist wasn't the ticket. It was the man who'd once had everything, lost it all, and chose to give the rest away. Ahmed Al-Farsi, the homeless millionaire, slept that night on a cot in BAYT al-AMAL, the sound of children's laughter lulling him like a lullaby he'd forgotten he knew.